Characters and plot. Chicken and the egg. What comes first sometimes? Sometimes an author will come up with a very good character and then it's looking for a story, and then we have to find that story. I'm going to draw on a good example, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle of Sherlock Holmes fame. He was born May 22nd, 1859 in Edinburgh. He attended Stonyhurst College, a Jesuit college. He developed a love at this early age for storytelling. He was exposed to somebody very significant during this time in Edinburgh University when he transferred, and that was a Dr. Joseph Bell. He was a professor known for keen observational skills, and his method of deduction and logical reasoning deeply influenced Doyle. And this became, of course, you may recognize it, the inspiration for Sherlock Holmes. After earning his medical degree, he then published his first novel featuring his character Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson, but it was not successful and actually got very little attention. He wrote a whole series, and it then became made into a serial piece for newspapers, and this is what garnered the attention. It reached a larger audience, was the seed to capture a large following, and now everybody wanted the books, and it became an insatiable element. Holmes was highly addictive, Holmes and Watson as characters. He attempted to kill off Holmes in The Final Problem, and his death at Reichenbach Falls while fighting off Professor Moriarty was a massive shock to his public. They acted as though a family member had died, and there was calls begging him to have Holmes return. This was a strange situation for him because Doyle actually believed that this writing was rather trivial, Holmes and Watson, and he wanted people to focus more on his historical and literary novels, and these did not garner that much attention. The public demanded he brought back Holmes with another series where he didn't really die, and there were several years in which he continued the Holmes and Watson storyline, and to great success. He passed away July 7th, 1930 at the age of 71 due to a heart attack. So what was this that he created? What significant element was there? He pioneered the detective fiction genre, and this influenced fictional detective writers like Agatha Christie for many years to come. He developed a technique of forensic science in fiction. Holmes used fingerprint analysis and ballistics, and these were before the police were actually using them. So very much ahead of his time here. He bridged popular and literary fiction, and his stories were both entertaining and very intellectually engaging. Holmes was his famous creation, and Conan Doyle felt somewhat resentful of the character. He considered these stories, as I said, trivial, and he described Holmes as a millstone around my neck, which is strange, really, that he should find his own creation such a burden, especially with the success that it had. There was an actor, and this was actually quite an interesting side story to the Holmes stories. He played Sherlock Holmes to great effect. His name was Jeremy Brett, mainly in the 1970s and the 80s. He did a brilliant portrayal, but he did have a lot of mental issues, and these were later diagnosed as having bipolar. It appeared as though the character of Holmes was too ideally suited to his personality, and he got lost into the character. This actually created a great psychological and emotional toll on the actor, and he had breakdowns, and people talked about the fact that Holmes's darker sides were now reflected in Jeremy Brett, and he had enormous trouble extracting himself from the character and actually became Holmes in real life. So a strong character, and maybe so believable, so utterly believable, that you can embody that character completely. What can we learn from this? The character was there before the plot. You can imagine Doyle saying, okay, so now I have a solution, but I haven't got a problem. So he is looking for a problem to the solution. And this would be quite easy, since these deductive and reasoning skills would be ideal for a mystery. And that's where he went. So we are thinking about that aspect of, you may already have a character, a set of characters, strongly developed, and can't quite make up where to put them. So in this video, we'll imagine that's your situation, and we'll now revert to plot brainstorming with what if situations. I don't know what genre you're heading towards, so we'll just do several in all the genres and play with them. Now, you are not so much listening to these ideas as understanding the ability to, in a stream of consciousness, just list anything and everything that you can think of in your writing journal, and then, through a process of elimination, work out what is best suited to you and especially to your characters. So let's try a few of these. Science fiction. What if aliens consider Earth a nature preserve and humans an endangered species? A person discovered that we are in fact an advanced AI. A scientist found a way to store consciousness in objects. Let's imagine you're more in the fantasy realm, or you haven't decided yet, which is why this is a good process. A person wakes up one morning to find that everyone in the world has developed a magic ability except for them. A group of warriors were tasked with protecting a prophecy that they now understand to be a lie. What if every time a person told a story, it became reality? Horror. A town had a rule that no one could be outside after dark. Where are we taking that? Who knows, right? What if a famous painter's portraits came to life? A family moved into a house where their reflections act independently. This writing down of any and all thoughts, and I have taught before about the fact that you have sounding boards, people you know. These people would be good for this brainstorming session. It might be that it is not one idea, but a hybrid of two ideas. Those two ideas could also cross genres. So stay fluid and don't lock down, and entertain all. Let's try mystery thrillers. A detective discovered that every unsolved crime was connected to a secret society. A person started receiving letters from their future self. A best-selling author's latest book described a soon-to-be real-life crime scene. Futuristic. A government replaced the prison system with forced memory erasure. If reality was revealed to be a simulation, what effects would that have? If people had to bid on how long they could live. Romance. Two people fell in love in a dream. Where could we take that? If every person was given a clock counting down to the moment they met their soulmate. A person found a series of love letters from their future self. So we are maybe in some cases, because of an influence in our past, and I've talked about these characters will not just be like Doyle based on one person. It will ultimately be Doyle expanding on Dr. Joseph Bell's character and giving other facets. You can see the extreme contrasting light and dark elements of Sherlock Holmes' character. And you know there's a large part of Doyle in those characters, interpreting those elements of the character. Who is Dr. Watson? Dr. Watson is obviously Doyle because once again we have a doctor. But he is inhabiting both characters and making them move simultaneously through a plot. I do hope this video has been helpful to you today. Look forward to seeing you on the next one. Otherwise, bye for now.